An SUV slowly halts near a bridge and a wounded man steps outside. He sits on the road and retrieves his phone to view images of his deceased wife, recalling the moment she passed on in his arms. The man sleeps on the floor, clutching his wound, seemingly waiting for his end. A flashback takes up to where it all started. A few days ago, the protagonist, John Wick, prepares for his wife's funeral. Helen had succumbed to a terminal illness, but her passing has affected John deeply. He wakes up with fresh memories of when her illness took a turn for the worst and the day he received the news that she had passed on. After the burial, John feels he has nothing to live for. John is approached by his friend and former colleague Marcus. He wants to know whether John will return to his old ways, but John responds no. One day, a package is delivered to him. John finds a small beagle and a letter from Helen. She had adopted the dog for John as a parting gift, knowing he needed something to love now that she was gone. The gift deeply touches John and he examines the puppy closely. He learns that Helen had named the puppy Daisy and he gets instantly attached to her. Daisy follows John everywhere, making him happy. John prepares a sleeping place for Daisy but has to visit the convenience store as he has no dog food. While refueling his car, a group of Russian mobsters led by Iosef Tarasov admires the 1969 Boss 429 Mustang. Iosef asks John how much he would take for the car, but it isn't for sale. Iosef insults John in Russian, but John responds and drives off, leaving Iosef fuming. John drives to an abandoned construction area to vent, showing that Iosef and his goons aggravated him. That night, John is woken by Daisy's incessant barking. He assumes that she wants to be let outside, however he finds two goons downstairs and another goon ambushes and hits him from behind. The goons beat him up while Daisy watches and whimpers in a corner. Her whines get to one of the goons and he snaps her head, killing her instantly. The goon removes his mask, revealing himself to be Iosef as he wants to taunt John for his earlier rudeness. Iosef knocks John out and then takes the car keys. Iosef drives the car to a local chop shop to remove its identifying details. However, the shop's owner, Aurelio, is visibly scared to see the car as he identifies it immediately. Aurelio asks Iosef to leave his shop immediately. The smug Russian claims he will take his business elsewhere. He insults John, saying he has also killed his dog. But instead of being impressed, Aurelio punches him and kicks him out of the shop. A while later, Iosef's father and boss of New York City's Russian mafia, Vigo Tarasov, calls Aurelio, wondering why he had punched Iosef. Aurelio reveals that Iosef had stolen Baba Yaga's vehicle. When Iosef gets home, he finds his father waiting for him with a drink. Thinking his father wants to congratulate him for his actions, Iosef is surprised when Vigo punches him. Vigo is disappointed that Iosef has called upon the wrath of John. He reveals that John had been in his employ and gained a reputation for being a ruthless and relentless man of focus, commitment, and sheer will. John had met and fallen in love with Helen, so he demanded his independence. Consequently, Vigo gave him an impossible task, but John quickly finished the task and settled down with Helen. Vigo fears that John will retaliate cruelly against them now that Helen is gone. Meanwhile, John comes to and finds Daisy long dead. He tearfully hugs the dog, sad that the only thing his wife had left him is gone. He buries the dog and then starts cleaning up the apartment while memories of his wife and Daisy fill his head. It makes him so angry that he decides to retaliate against the men responsible. He looks around his apartment and then sets out. His first stop is at the chop shop. Aurelio quickly surrenders Iosef's name. Next, he goes into his basement where he breaks open the floor to reveal an arsenal of weapons. He gets a call from Vigo asking for reconciliation, but John ignores it. Vigo therefore sends a group of assassins after John and sends Iosef to hide in a safe house. Unfortunately, the killers are no match for John, and he quickly eliminates them all. A cop pulls over outside John's place as some neighbors have called in a noise complaint. The cop knows John's old ways and wonders whether he's back in the business, but John says he needs to handle something. He calls the cleaning crew he used to work with later to clean up the mess while he starts looking for Iosef. Vigo reaches out to Marcus, John's old buddy. He offers him $2 million for John's death. He also sends a message to all the other assassins, placing a bounty on John's head. Meanwhile, John goes to the Continental Hotel in Lower Manhattan. He hopes to recuperate and re-strategize without distractions. The criminal empire has such neutral hotels all over the world where violence isn't allowed, and neither is conducting any illegal activity. The hotel's manager Winston tells John where Iosef and his friends are hiding out in a club. In the hotel, John spots his former colleague and assassin Perkins resting after a job. John is warned that Iosef and his goons have a lot of weapons, so he should be careful. However, John storms into the house and starts taking out the men one after another, knowing that the guys are amateurs compared to him. Unfortunately, John sustains a stab wound, allowing Iosef to escape in a getaway car. Realizing that John is wounded, Vigo pays Perkins double the bounty money to attack him in the hotel despite the strict rules. Perkins sneaks into the hotel, but Marcus, who is keeping an eye on John from an opposite building, fires a warning shot into the room to alert John of the danger. John quickly defends himself and manages to incapacitate Perkins. John interrogates Perkins and she reveals the updated bounty and that Vigo hides his stash in a church's basement. John knocks Perkins out and asks another of his former friends staying in the adjacent room to look after her. John locates the church and finds Vigo's stash. It has plenty of money, guns, passports, and blackmail information. John then calls Vigo to the location after setting the church and all its contents on fire. Vigo rushes to the location to assess the damage, but John ambushes him and a severe shootout occurs. Unfortunately, Vigo's henchman hits John with his car and captures him. Vigo wants John captured alive as he has a question for him. Vigo wonders why John would cause so much trouble for a car. John shares that his greatest worry is Daisy, as she represents his and Helen's love. Daisy also gave him a chance to not be alone in his grief and hope for the future. He wants Iosef's location and will execute anyone who stands in his way. Vigo leaves, but asks his men to kill John by suffocating him with a paper bag. Luckily, Marcus, who has been following John, starts shooting at the goons, giving John a chance to get a gun and shoot at Vigo's car. John executes everyone in the car, save for Vigo. He shares that his beef is with Iosef and will spare Vigo if he shares his son's location. With no option, Vigo reveals Iosef's location is Brooklyn. He also neuters the contract on John's head. John finds Iosef partying with a few of his friends, unaware of the looming threat. John again eliminates all the henchmen, causing Iosef to try and flee. This time, John catches him and eliminates him in the cold way he had taken out Daisy. Marcus and John meet up. Marcus advises John to quit this life now that he has had his revenge. He urges him to move on, as Helen would have wanted him to be happy. Meanwhile, Perkins escapes her confines by breaking a finger and killing John's friend. Perkins sees the interaction between Marcus and John. She reunites with Vigo and reveals that Marcus has been assisting John. Vigo and his men capture Marcus. They torture him for playing both sides and kill him. Vigo then calls John to taunt him with Marcus' death. Vigo intends to leave the city and let Perkins eliminate John when he gets to Marcus' house. While waiting for John, Perkins is called by Winston. She is informed that her membership has been revoked due to her disobedience to the no-violence law. Winston has his men gun her down. Winston tells John that Vigo is about to leave the city in a helicopter. John races to the location, New York Harbor, and rams his car into Vigo's, hoping to derail him from getting to the chopper. Vigo dispatches one of his men to deal with John. John quickly rams into the man and continues chasing after Vigo. Eventually, Vigo and John have a hand-to-hand combat. John is a little rusty, so Vigo quickly draws a knife and holds John captive. However, Vigo is surprised when John pushes the blade into his body, using the proximity to break Vigo's arm. He then removes the knife and stabs Vigo in the neck, ending his life. This brings us back to the first scene. John continues remembering his happy moments with Helen while his wounds bleed profusely. He watches a video of Helen telling him they need to go home. Suddenly, he gets up with renewed energy, determined to live for Helen. He finds a dog shelter nearby and cares for his wound. He then grabs a pit bull puppy set to be euthanized and starts walking home. Do leave a comment telling us your favorite part of the movie. Hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next recap. Until next time, folks, take care and goodbye.